This Tuesday, April 9th, NBA Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based and available in 40 states. Head to cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick'em for a chance to win 100x in NBA, MLB, NHL, golf, and more. Sign up today using promo code NBASGPN to get a 100% deposit match. We're also brought to you by Avo. Avo is the premium arbitrage sports betting tool. Use your tool to bet both sides and lock in a profit. Access their platform for free at arbsversusodds.com. That's ARBSVS odds.com. And in honor of Masters Week, the guys over at the Golf Gambling Podcast are giving away a tailor-made Spider X putter for absolutely free. Enter at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/masters. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, April the 9th, currently 11:08 on the East Coast. Here to get into the, believe, a 15-game schedule in the association. Had the day off yesterday in the NBA, maybe due to the fact of the NCAA Men's National Championship. UConn gets it done back-to-back years, and it is the final week of the regular season in the NBA. Lots still to be determined as far as playoff seeding goes, both in the Eastern and Western Conference. But we'll get to all the games here today momentarily. But joining me here to help me break everything down in the NBA, I got my guy here with me. It's Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing this Tuesday morning?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Feels good to get NBA back. It was I don't even say interesting title game because it was good for about a half, and then the game was kind of over after that.
Yeah.
We call it March Madness, but to be honest, not exactly much madness in the last couple of rounds for both the men and the women. A lot of blowouts on the men's side. The women's game had a couple of interesting moments where Iowa got out to a big lead, then South Carolina came back and won comfortably. Felt like kind of watching the same game where the underdog had the best player, but the other team was clearly better and ended up coasting at the end. So, yeah, hopefully, these games are maybe a bit more competitive than the ones we just watched on the college side, but can't complain too much. Overall, it was a pretty fun college basketball experience in general, and hopefully the NBA over the last week of the regular season and the playoffs are a little bit more, let's say, competitive.
Yeah, getting down to the wire here, like you mentioned here for the NBA, and hopefully we get some more competitive basketball starting tonight here. In fact, we have some pretty good matchups on teams that are, like I mentioned, are fighting for playoff positioning. So let's just dive right into it, man. A lot of games for us to get to. But before I actually do that, let me tell everyone, like I just mentioned, in honor of Masters Week, the Golf Gambling Podcast guys are giving away a tailor-made Spider X putter for absolutely free. All you got to do is go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/masters. Again, they're giving away a tailor-made Spider X putter absolutely free. Enter at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/masters. And if you're in the San Diego area and you're watching this live and maybe listening it to on the podcast player, and if you're getting this before 4 p.m. Local time in San Diego, the guys are going to be out in San Diego for a special Circus Sports watch party starting Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. at Swing Social. Free drinks for anyone wearing Cubs or Padres gear. Grab a cocktail and say what's up to Sean and Brian and the crew. All right, Scott, let's get into the games here for the Tuesday schedule, full games schedule here. We'll get into the first one here. We got the Dallas Mavericks. They are in Charlotte to take on the Charlotte Hornets. Currently, as it stands, the Mavericks are a 12.5-point road favorite here with a total of 223. Pulling up the injury report here. Give me a second. Let me go to another web. All right, there we go. All right, so for the Dallas Mavericks, it will be Maxi Kleba, who is questionable. Josh Green is doubtful, and Derek Lively II is out. For the Charlotte Hornets, the usual suspects are out. LaMelo Ball, Seth Curry, Cody Martin, Mark Williams, and Armani Bailey is questionable in this game. Obviously, we know the season is been over for the Charlotte Hornets, but the Dallas Mavericks currently sitting in the fifth spot, 2 games ahead of the Phoenix Suns and trailing by 2 games against the Clippers here. Scott, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think for this one, I'm going to lean to the over, just based on total. Dallas defensively has been okay recently. They were not good against the Rockets in their last game, but they were able to sneak out with an overtime win. I do think, though, Charlotte can score, especially if Miller and Bridges are both healthy. We saw them score against Orlando over the weekend. We saw them score a lot of points against Cleveland, for example. I think this game should be a bit more high scoring, which is why the total has gone up a couple of points. So I am going to lean to the over there. I'm still not sure if I really want to be laying double digits with Dallas on the road because we just saw them down. They were down like 20 and change to Houston. I
Yeah.
think. I don't know if it ever
Mhm.
got to 20. I think it did. But the point is, I don't know if I trust them to win by margin. I think Dallas is going to win because they're still fighting for seeding and they're trying to avoid the play-in. But I do think, based on the overall matchup itself, I am going to lean to the over. I see a bit more points than people are expecting.
Yeah, Charlotte has really improved on the offensive side. Their offensive rating is now up to 115.5, which is number 12 in the entire league. And like you mentioned, defense hasn't been very good as well. I'm a little skeptical, or I take a step back when I see these double digit favorites on the road. Um, because I think it was the case on Sunday night where the Warriors were a 12.5 point favorite, covering for a majority of that game until the final couple minutes there. And the Utah Jazz were able to backdoor and cover the game. So I think we could see something similar here in this game here. So um, I'll lean here Charlotte plus the 12.5 total. I agree with you on the over there, 223 right now. Both offenses are clicking, and both defenses, the effort's not there on the defense side. I'll put it that way. And Charlotte hasn't been very good defensively since the All-Star break either. So yeah, over for me as well. Any player props looking at?
Yeah, I think that Luka's actually in an interesting spot because it looked like he was a bit injured in that Houston game down the stretch. He was either out of gas or he hurt his foot or maybe both, which is why Kyrie kind of took over late in that game. I think I have to look at Kyrie points, just simply put. If I think that Luka's even slightly compromised, that does mean that Kyrie should have a massive scoring role with this team. He also, historically speaking, kills Charlotte. Just is what it is because he played at Duke, of course, etc. So maybe he
Yeah.
takes that game a little bit closer to heart. I don't mind Kyrie points in this matchup. Maybe Luka triple double still, but I think I'm going to stay away from Luka points though because I do think that the number is going to be extremely high. And I wonder if he's potentially injured because he did look a little bit compromised at the end of that Houston game. So I think I'm going to look mostly at Kyrie points. On the other side, I don't mind Brandon Miller points. He's been really good recently. But I think I'm going to stick with those two. Kyrie was so damn good in that game against Houston. He had 48 points, I think. It's tough to go against him at this point. So I'll lean to Kyrie over and I'll lean to I'll lean to Brandon Miller over. I don't mind Luka rebounds, though. I think that Luka can have a good game on the boards. We know Charlotte's not a good rebounding team, but I do think that Luka, I want to see how he looks early in that game because it seemed like he was a bit compromised at the end.
Yeah, Luka has been really good actually rebounding the basketball against the Charlotte Hornets throughout his career. He's actually had 3 straight games of double-digit rebounding, 10, and then the last 2 meetings, 12, and then the meeting they had earlier this season at home, Luka had 12 rebounds in that game as well. So, yeah, Kyrie's been playing real well. Again, I've mentioned this multiple times that he's just not getting the credit right now he deserves for what he's been able to do next to Luka because Luka's pretty much walking into triple doubles. But he's been absolutely fantastic. And again, hopefully that for Mavericks fan, that carries into the playoffs here for those two guys and just overall this team. So yeah, Luka rebounds was the one I was looking at. It's at 10.5 at even money. I don't hate that. And I mean, you also mentioned the Brandon Miller one, who's just been playing really good basketball right now for the Charlotte Hornets. Anything else for this game?
No, they basically covered it.
All right, next game on the schedule, we'll go over to a 7:10 Eastern start between the Detroit Pistons and the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers currently a 15.5 point home favorite in this game with a total of 223. Looking at the injury report for this game, the Detroit Pistons currently are going to be without Quentin Grimes, Isaiah Stewart, Asur Thompson, and let's see here, Simon Fontecchio. Cade Cunningham is questionable for this game, and Evan Fournier is probable. For the Sixers, their main players all have questionable tags. Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Kyle Lowry, Tyrese Maxey, and DeAnthony Melton all questionable here tonight. The Sixers are coming off of a double overtime victory against the San Antonio Spurs in a game where Joel Embiid did not play. Tyrese Maxey, I think he scored another 50 points in that game off of 40 some odd shots for the Philadelphia 76ers. But we'll see if Embiid does, in fact, end up playing here tonight. I think he will because he did have that day off on Sunday. But 15.5 is a number against his Pistons team here, Scott.
Yeah, I think for this one, I mean, the spread makes sense because Embiid's probably going to play in this game. The question is, do I think they're going to care enough to actually win by margin? And that I don't know. So far this season, when Philly has truly cared, they've dominated this team. The first meeting they won by 8, I believe that was a play-in tournament game, and they were up by a bunch, and then Detroit went on a run late. They won the other 2 meetings by 18-plus points. Detroit's been really bad, and Cade has been missing a lot of games recently. I think I might lean Philly, but I really need to know if Maxey's going to play. So I think for this one, as of right now, I guess I'm leaning to Detroit because I don't know who's playing for Philly. But assuming Philly's got all their guys playing, I'm going to take Philly.
Yeah, I think that if I get either Maxey or Embiid in this game, I will look at the Sixers in the first half just to come out here and take care of business. And then, if they're up by 20 some odd points, 20, 25 points entering that fourth quarter, you more than likely are not going to see Embiid play in that fourth quarter. So I really do like the Sixers early in this game if you want to take them in the first quarter or first half. I think that might be the look here, depending on, again, if Tyrese Maxey or Joel Embiid do, in fact, end up playing here tonight. Total sitting at 223, Scott. Anything on that?
I'll lean over. The 3 meetings this season have been somewhat higher scoring to some degree. I mean, Philly offensively has been killing this team. So I maybe wouldn't mind a Philly team total over. But I do think Philly should get whatever it wants offensively, especially if Embiid plays 30-plus minutes. They have no answers. Duran can't guard him. We know that. So I'll probably look for Philly team total over.
Yeah, I'd be on the same track there with you. Just want to see if these guys do play here, if in fact or not, which player props just not much available. You do have Cade Cunningham and Joel Embiid posted, but both those guys are questionable here tonight. My guy OG in here is saying that if Cade does play tonight, he likes just over 2.5 turnovers, a little bit of juice at minus 170, but yeah, that could be worth a look here in this game for Cade. Anything you want to mention for player props?
No, not really. I think Embiid, if he plays, kills this team like he always does. I maybe would not mind first quarter points. I believe it's at like 7.5, and he's just killed Detroit in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Embiid has not played the entire first quarter since he came back from injury, though, so there has been some adjustment to his actual minutes, which is why this line might seem short. It's 4 baskets or maybe even 8 free throws, which I think he can get. So I don't mind Embiid to get off to a fast start. Embiid over 7.5 first quarter points.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think there was the last game that he played that they took him out maybe around the 6 or 7 minute mark, gave him a couple minutes. And I think maybe he had returned for like the final minute or two for that first quarter. So I think that'll be something for us to keep an eye on how Nick Nurse is handling his minutes, in this final week, and then getting into the playoffs here. So player props again very limited here, but yeah, we'll leave it at that. All right, Scott, before we get into the next game on the schedule here, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based and available in 40 states. Peer-to-peer social betting is a new and better way to bet. Bet directly against your friends or other users on sports, politics, pop culture, other events with verifiable outcomes, plus tons of fun social features that give it a feel of a betting social network. Cut offers lower vig and fully customizable odds to create your own bets. Cut even handles the payment side of things, so you never have to chase anyone down for money. Social feature includes group chat, betting leaderboards, head-to-head history, user profiles, fan groups, and more. They also have a rewards program. You can get cash back every single time you bet against your friends or other users. So download Cut today in the App Store or over at cut.com. That's K-U-T-T, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. You can play their pick'em game. Pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's games for a chance to win big. You can pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. Stay tuned at the end of the episode. Scott and I will put together our Underdog Fantasy entry here for the Tuesday night schedule. And you can sign up today with our promo code NBASGPN and get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as an instant pick'em special. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with our code NBASGPN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as an instant pick'em special. Must be 18 years or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, Scott, let's get into the next game here on the schedule. That is going to be, we've got the Indiana Pacers. They are in Toronto here tonight to take on the Raptors. Currently, as it stands, another double-digit road favorite here. The Pacers laying 13 points in Toronto with a total of 239.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Indiana Pacers, pretty clean injury report. We know that Benedict Mathurin is done for the season, has been for a while. For the Toronto Raptors, Grady Dick is questionable. Emmanuel Quickley is out, and Gary Trent Jr. is available to play. So no Emmanuel Quickley here tonight, and then Grady Dick is questionable, and obviously the other players that have been out for some time, the Scotty Barnes, the Chris Bouchers, and the Jakob Pertls of the world are all out here. So 13 is the number here, Scott, against the Toronto Raptors for the Pacers. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I might actually lean to Toronto. I don't know if I feel. I mean, of course, I still don't like this team objectively, but they have gotten healthier and they have been winning a couple of games, actually. But you look at Indiana and they're laying a bunch of points on the road, which is not exactly an ideal situation. I mean, Quickly is out, though, so I have to at least point that out. And that is going to be a relatively big deal because Quickly has been good for this team, statistically speaking. But I mean, it's a lot of points. Indiana defensively can always be hit or miss. I'd say usually miss, but I like the over in this game. It's at 239.5, which I
Yeah.
understand, but it kind of goes back to the Dallas spot where Dallas, I think, is the team than Charlotte, but I don't know if I want to lay that many points on the road. So I think I'm going to lean Toronto. If they get killed, would I be shocked? Absolutely not. But I think that based on where the line is located, it does seem a little bit large. So I'm going to lean to Toronto, lean to the over. Probably Toronto team total over.
Yeah, I think this is a game where we do just end up seeing a lot of points. I wasn't really interested in the total because, I'm sorry, in the spread, like you mentioned, because the Pacers on the road, 20-19 straight up, 21-17 against the spread, but as a away favorite, just 6-7 against the spread. And I don't think there's been a lot of times where they have been a double-digit favorite. I think it's only been 3 times. They actually have covered both games when they have been a double-digit road favorite, which was against the Charlotte Hornets and against the Detroit Pistons back on March 20th. So, yeah, I think I'm more interested in the total here. Maybe, I mean, I could look at it either way. The Raptors team totals go over, or even the Pacers team total to go over. Pacers have been top. I think they're number 2 over the last 5 games. Yeah, in offensive efficiency, only trailing the Boston Celtics. We know that the pace that they do play at, they're still top 10 in that category. Toronto also playing at a very fast pace. They're actually number 2 in pace over the last 5 games. And defensively, this team has not been very good, especially from 3-point territory in the Toronto Raptors. I know we'll talk about player props here in a minute. So I think if the Pacers are able to knock down their 3-point shots in this game, I think this could, turn into a track meet, and especially with the pace that the Raptors are playing at and what we've seen from the Pacers, we could see this game into the 240s pretty comfortably in this game. Player props, Scott, what are you looking at?
Yeah, I think Siakam's in line for a decent game. I don't mind Siakam rebounds. I've talked about it before, but Toronto with Olynyk as their center, really not a good rebounding team at all, which makes sense because Olynyk's not a good rebounding center by any means. So I think for this one, I'm going to expect to see a decent amount of rebounds for Siakam. I feel like Halliburton assists has been brutal for everybody involved if you've been taking overs for the last couple of weeks, but total's 239.5. Like, I got to at least consider Halliburton assists. Maybe if you want to go TJ McConnell off the bench, I don't mind that one. But I do think for Toronto, I saw it was mentioned before by Ryan, Gary Trent's been really, really good with scoring, but it seems like they've kind of adjusted the point total. But now Quickly's out, so the ball's going to be in somebody's hands more. So maybe Gary Trent, I wouldn't mind. I know Indiana this season, once again, is willing to get involved in some track meets. So maybe Trent does have a big scoring game. Maybe you want to go RJ Barrett because somebody's going to have to shoot the ball. And we know RJ does love to shoot a lot. But I do think for the sake of this matchup, I'm mostly looking at Siakam rebounds. I wonder where the assists might come from for Toronto with Quickly being out. Probably Olynyk. Olynyk was doing a pretty good job facilitating before Quickly came back. So I don't mind Olynyk assists actually in this game as a pretty niche prop that I think has some value to it.
Yeah, I mean, last game, Quickly had 13 assists, but also RJ Barrett had 7. Gary Trent had 5. Kelly Olynyk had 9 rebounds, 5 assists. So if you want to look at maybe a combo for rebounds and assists for Olynyk, I don't hate that look in this game. I was looking at Hallie 3-pointers in this game. It was at 2.5 yesterday, minus 145. It's down to minus 140, which is even better. But Toronto has been really, really bad against the 3-point line over the last 5 games. I believe they're dead last in opponent makes allowed per game over the last 5 games. Quickly trying to pull that up here. Yeah, so they're giving up 18 three-pointer makes per game. They're allowing 41 attempts per game, and then they're allowing teams to shoot close to 43%. So I know Hallie was struggling a little bit coming out of the All-Star break, shooting his shot, but it seems like he may have found his form here a little bit. Asking him to get 3-pointers in this game, I don't think it's a huge deal. This is the 4th matchup between these two teams. Hallie had at least 5 3-pointers made in 2 out of the 3 matchups this season against the Toronto Raptors. So if you want to take this up to 3.5, I think this might be a good shooting night here for Halliburton in this game against the Raptors. Siakam, I mean, a lot of people are talking about his, again, return. I think this might be the 2nd time back to Toronto against his former team. I don't know if there's much of a revenge factor or something like that on his mind, but I like your rebounding call on Siakam here tonight. I think that's a good call. You have anything else as far as player props?
Just a question: is it automatically a revenge spot if you go back to a former team, or does it not matter because Toronto's intentionally losing? You're kind of doing them a favor by helping them win. I mean, by winning. Does that even count as a revenge factor? Toronto's happy to lose these games.
Yeah, but I mean, there might be some type of.
It's personal animosity potentially.
Yeah, I think that's the way to put it.
Just in general, it's like, yeah, it's a revenge game. I mean, I guess Toronto's thrilled if you drop 30 and 15, but yeah, you do you. I don't think Toronto cares one way or another.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, let's get over to the next game of the schedule here. We've got the Boston Celtics. They are in Milwaukee here tonight to take on the Bucks. Celtics currently laying 2 points in this game on the road here. Total of 228. Injury report for the Boston Celtics. Al Horford, questionable. Kristaps Porzingis is questionable. And that is pretty much it. So Horford and KP both questionable. Everybody else is a go in this game. For the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis is questionable. Marjon Beauchamp is out. Patrick Beverley is probable. And Chris Middleton is probable here as well. So Bev and Middleton probable. Giannis questionable in this game. Bucks, oh boy, where do you even start with this team? Just been absolutely atrocious. The I don't want to say the rumors, but maybe they're losing games intentionally to maybe avoid the Celtics in the second round.
I think it's all the above. But I mean, they'd have to fall to the 4. Actually, no, that wouldn't really matter because they were in position of the 2. So they already were avoiding Boston. The question is if they want to avoid Miami or Philly from a potential play-in situation, if they wanted to get the 3 instead of the potential 2. But I think it might be a mix. Maybe they're potentially, I don't want to say tanking, but this team also is just poorly coached and Giannis is injured. So you can argue it's all the above at this point.
Yeah, so if they drop down to the 3 spot, they would, right now playoff started, it would be pretty much the Pacers, and then they would play the winner of the 2-7, which would be Orlando or whichever play-in tournament team, and try to get to the Eastern Conference Finals that way. But I think there might be something to it.
It's also a young team, but Indiana's done very well against Milwaukee this season too.
Yeah.
So it's not like that's a great matchup for them either.
So I have no idea where I want to go with this game. I would lean Boston here. maybe early for Boston. Again, if my gut tells me that Giannis does not end up playing in this game, uh, but I would go Boston early, get in with my money, get out with my money because they have no instant. There's nothing for Boston to play for. They've locked up the best record. They locked up the number 1 seed a few weeks ago. And it's just about keeping their guys healthy. So I would go Boston early, and then Milwaukee maybe makes it a game in the fourth quarter, something like that. But I honestly, on paper, is a great matchup, but there's just no motivation for the Boston Celtics at this point of the season. So lean Boston early in the first half, but that's pretty much it for me, Scott. What do you got?
Well, I initially overnight was going to lean to Milwaukee because I believe the line was close to a pick'em in the spot, or
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee might have even been like a half-point favorite, and the line shifted about 2.5 points. It tells me I think Giannis is not going to play.
Yeah.
Now, some of it could be based on just bad form, and people are rushing to not bet Milwaukee, which is why the line is moved. But now, basically, a 3-point move overnight kind of tells me that Giannis with the hamstring injury is going to struggle in the spot, or potentially just not going to play. It's a hamstring issue, and we know that Giannis has battled a lot of injuries over the course of his career. It's why during the post All-Star break win total episode with Terrell, I liked Milwaukee under, not just because of bad form, but because Giannis always gets hurt. Always. He misses double-digit games every year, and he was healthy for the first half. So I assumed he'd get injured at some point, and that would kind of plague him over the last couple of months, and it has. He hurt his hamstring, and he's been battling it, and he's missed some games. I do not think he's going to play. So with that being the case, unless Lillard drops about 40, I don't know how they're going to win this game, because you assume Boston, who's been really handling the 1 seed well, because they've been alternating who's starting and who's sitting, which I kind of like. They've been getting Tatum some time off, Brown some time off. They've really done a good job of
Mm-hmm.
keeping guys healthy. It does seem like the main guys are going to play together in this game. So I think I have to lean to Boston because Giannis, I do not think is personally going to play.
Yeah, I think again right there with you, and that's why I just wanted to take Boston in this game, and just forget about the rest. And I think the consensus in the chat even is that Milwaukee's probably vying for that 3 spot, and then seeing what happens if they can get to the Eastern Conference Finals, if they can get their shit together here down the stretch here. So
Do you agree with
yeah,
that move?
Boston. I
Of
think
course, it's
both.
Miami and Philly, which is intimidating, but do you agree with that?
I think both of those teams right now can beat Milwaukee
Do you think Indiana can beat Milwaukee?
in current form. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that Milwaukee's got a better chance of beating Miami or Philly? You could put a hyphen between the two of them, or Indiana.
I think Indiana they have a better chance because they could dominate on the inside.
Okay.
Um, but
I
again,
probably
maybe
agree with you.
yeah, if
But
it's like Philly or Miami, like you have like Bam, you have Joel Embiid, you have a more complete roster. Versus for the Pacers, it's like it's Hallie, it's Yakam, and then you're hoping somebody else steps up because they really don't have that Peyton presence. And like that's where Giannis can really just dominate and take over the series. So I could
I,
probably see that at least get into 6 games.
I think I'd agree with you, but I feel like I have to at least ask because I do think Philly, assuming Embiid's fully healthy, I would actually take Philly in a series in
Yeah,
probably 6 against Milwaukee.
yeah,
Miami's interesting because Miami is a team that we really have not been sold on the entire year. Then again, we know Butler coast through the entire regular season. We know Hero's finally healthy. I'm not sure if it's going to stay that way, but at least they are getting healthier. You can make the argument that Miami, of course, can beat this Milwaukee team because they flip a switch every postseason, and Milwaukee doesn't want to bother, especially after what happened last year. But I don't know. I feel like it's worth talking about. I think I'd agree with you that Indiana does have I'd say the best chance of losing to Milwaukee in a series because Giannis would probably average like 35 and 15 if he was
yeah.
healthy in a
Hmm.
series. So I think I'd agree. I think Philly would beat Milwaukee. I probably would lean to Milwaukee against Miami, but I would not feel great about that at all. And I
Yeah,
think I would lean to Milwaukee against Indiana. I'd feel the best about that one. So I think we're on the same page.
yeah. All right. Any player props in this game?
I mean, I don't mind Dame points and assists if Giannis is out because he's going to have the ball in his hands the entire time.
Hmm.
If you want to pivot maybe to like Bobby Portis, I wouldn't hate that because we know Portis's numbers are always really good in general, especially when Giannis is not playing. So that could be an option. For Boston, it could be anybody. That's the issue with this team. It could be anybody. Maybe Tatum has a big game, but yeah, I got nothing for Boston because they could blow them out. They could win this game close. I have no idea. You have much?
I really didn't have much for player props, and a lot of guys are Derek White fans here tonight. And I think I do think that either Porzingis or Horford sit in this game. And I think that just opens the door for Derek White to have a big game here tonight. So if you want to look at his points and assists to go over, if you want to play those separately, I don't hate that, but not a lot of player props for me in this game between these two teams. Getting over to the next game on the schedule here, we'll go over to the Miami Heat. They are in Atlanta to take on the Hawks. Heat currently a 4-point road favorite here with a total of 220. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo is probable. Tyler Hero is available. Nikola Jovic is probable. Kevin Love is probable. Duncan Robinson is out for this game. And I did see a note that just came across that Terry Rozier, who is questionable, was not participating in shoot around this morning. So more than likely he may be sitting in this game. But everybody else pretty much is a go for this Miami Heat team, as they are laying 4 against the Hawks. And then Hawks injury report, the usual suspects, Sadiq Bey, AJ Griffin, Onyeka Okongwu, and Trae Young are all out here tonight. Like we talked about, Miami in the 8th spot right now. They're half a game behind the Sixers, and they are 1.5 games behind the Pacers here. Pretty much Chicago and Atlanta's fighting to find out who's going to be hosting that play-in tournament game here. But 4 points is a number right now, Scott, for the Miami Heat.
I think I have to lean to the Hawks. You mentioned all the injuries. Rozier's been great for them the last couple of weeks. So I think with him potentially sitting in this game, and with the overall just lack of desire to take Miami as a favorite, because we know that Miami doesn't try half the time, I'm going to lean Atlanta. Is Atlanta a good team? No, but they have been better without Trae. I actually did hear some reports that Trae is resuming some workout stuff, so maybe he'll actually come back. Nobody really knows. But I think for the sake of this matchup, I really don't want to lay 4 with Miami. I just don't want to do it. Now, is it possible that Butler and Hero and Bam just take over and win this game? Sure. But we've made a lot of money fading Miami this season as a favorite because they don't try half the time. And I don't know why I would really be tempted to take Miami in the spot when they might be missing a couple of guys. Plus, Miami and Philly, they're not guaranteed into that play-in matchup, but are they basically guaranteed into the 7-8? I know that Miami has a chance in theory to catch for the division. I don't think they're catching Orlando, just simply put. So are we
No.
on the same page here that they're basically
Yeah.
wrapped into their matchup against Philly and they're going to move on?
So it'll just depend on who ends up as a 6 or 7 seed, maybe even the 5 seed. The Cavs continue sliding. So 5, 6, and 7 between the Cavs, Pacers, and the Sixers are separated by 2 games. Pacers are 1 game behind the Cavs, and the Sixers are 1 game behind the Pacers. So yeah, I mean, it's again, if Pacers continue winning out, obviously they'll end up as a 6 or the 5th seed. If Cavs continue losing, they could fall. They only have 3 games left here, so it'll be tough. But Sixers, I mean, I feel like it's just cemented right now that 5, 6, and 7, unless something catastrophic happens with the Pacers.
Well, the thing is that that's Philly. Miami's a half a game back of Philly.
Of
So
Philly, yeah.
Indiana, we talked about earlier, is playing Toronto. They better win that game. So
Yeah.
let's assume that Indiana wins this game against Toronto tonight. I think that's a fair assumption. That would put Miami 2 back with basically 3 games to go.
Yeah.
And to be clear, they're 6 games ahead of Chicago for the 8 spots. They've already
Right.
clinched either. They're not going to be in the 9 or the 10. The 9 and the 10
No.
are officially set. So Miami might start resting some guys at
Yeah.
this point because
Yeah.
I think they're going to be a play-in team. The question is, do they care about getting home court or not in that first play-in game? I'm not sure they really care, to be honest, because we've seen them lose the first play-in and win the second play-in anyway, and then make the NBA Finals. I'm not sure Miami cares. So I think Miami's going to sit a bunch of guys in this game. And we already heard about Rozier and Duncan Robinson. They're already missing some guys in general. I'll lean to Atlanta.
Yeah, so Miami has Atlanta, they have Toronto twice, and then they have Dallas left on their schedule, where Philly has Orlando, Brooklyn, and the Pistons. So it just
And
feels
Orlando
like
might not care at that point. I don't know where Orlando, can they wrap up the division tonight?
I think it's a possibility. I think if they win, they could get it done. Because they are 3 games clear of the Miami Heat in the win
The
column.
3 games clear so if Miami does lose this game, they're officially well, I want to quickly see the head-to-head between the two of them. But the point is Miami should basically punt in the division at this point. It's just not going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So I'll lean to Atlanta.
Yeah. Atlanta has actually been really good at home since the All-Star break. 8-3 straight up, 7-4 against the spread, 7-4 towards the over. So yeah, I'll be on Atlanta here tonight as well, plus the 4. Total is sitting at 220 here. Scott, any thoughts on that?
I'm going to lean under. I just expect this game to be a bit ugly. But so far this season, the games have been competitive and a bit high scoring. But I am going to lean under. I think Atlanta defensively, they gave up 142 to Denver, but they've also not played since the 6th. So they've had a couple days off. Maybe they'll get back on track, but I'm going to lean under in this game. I just don't exactly trust either team offensively on a regular basis to drop a ton of points. So I'll lean to the under.
Yeah, I'm really indifferent on the total. I really didn't have an opinion on this game for the total here. Defensively, let me just quickly look here. Miami's at number 10. Atlanta's at bottom half or bottom 10 in the league, but they're also playing at a fast pace. Are the Atlanta Hawks as well at number 4? So yeah, not much for me. I think this could fall up within a point or two on either side of the total here. Player props. Anything you're looking at?
For player props in this game, it's a good matchup for Bam, but we already know I can't take his player props because that never goes well for me. Jimmy might play well. We'll see. But for me, this just seems like a classic DeJounte Murray game. He's going to have the ball in his hands all the time. Atlanta's been playing relatively well with Trey's absence because of DeJounte. I think DeJounte is going to have the ball a lot, so I don't mind points and assists for DeJounte in this game. Tyler Hero maybe is in line for a decent game, but I could see Bogdan having a decent game from 3. But I think we basically covered some of the options. It's tough to tell with Miami because I'm not sure who's playing or not, but I think I'm just going to lean to DeJounte to have a good game.
Yeah, I want to get behind Bam, either his points, but again, like with Tyler Hero back, that the shot volume and the shot distribution is going to be split up. Jalen Johnson might be another guy I want to look at here, whether it's rebounds and assists to go over, coming off of a rough game against the Denver Nuggets, which was pretty much
to be
a blowout.
fair, everybody was rough in that game. To be fair, so
but he's had, prior to that, 16 rebounds, 14 rebounds in those 2 games against Dallas and Detroit. So maybe that's worth a look here tonight for Jalen Johnson on rebounds and assists to go over. You got anything else for this game?
No, not really. It's not a game I'm really thrilled about because I don't know what the actual motivation is for either team. But
Yeah,
I'll lean Atlanta for the sake of it, and I don't have much else.
yeah. All right. Before we get over to the next game on the schedule, let me tell everyone about the newest sponsor here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. That is going to be Avo. We're proud to partner up with Avo, the premier sports betting arbitrage tool. If you're new to arbitrage sports betting, it's very simple. Basically, betting both sides of a bet at 2 different sports books to lock in a profit. The Avo tool scans the sports books looking for discrepancies in the odds and then tells you how much money you need to place with each sports book and the expected profit. The tool is super easy to use and lightning fast at speed is a big part of arbitrage sports betting. The best part of Avo is currently free and to use without any restrictions. That's right, completely free. Get started today at arbsversusodds.com. That's arbsversusodds.com. arbsvsodds.com. That's arbsversusodds.com. All right, Scott, let's keep it rolling here. Next game on the schedule, we have the let's go over to Chicago. The Knicks are in Chicago here today to take on the Bulls. Currently, the Knicks are a 4.5-point road favorite. Total is sitting at 212.5. Injury report for this game for the New York Knicks. Pretty simple. Julius Randle is the only player that is going to be out. For the Chicago Bulls, Alex Caruso questionable. Ayo Dosunmu is questionable. Cody White is probable in this game. So 2 questionable tags on Dosunmu and Alex Caruso. Everybody is a go except for obviously Julius Randle. For the Knicks here, Scott. OG Anunoby back. 4.5 number for the Knicks in Chicago. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Knicks in this spot. We saw Chicago just beat this team. I think it was last week. So it's a good revenge spot for the Knicks. And the Bulls might be sitting half their team because White, DeSunwu, and Caruso are all game time decisions. We already talked about it before. They've already wrapped up a play-in spot. So they have really nothing to play for at this point. I'll take the Knicks, who are still competing for seeding. But the fact that they're healthy and Chicago's not is kind of all I need to know here. I'll lean to the Knicks.
Yeah, I think Knicks probably want to get that home court advantage in that first round. Right now, they're sitting in that fourth spot. They're tied with Orlando as far as record, but I think Orlando has a tiebreaker between these two teams because I think they won 3 out of the 4 games this season between those two teams. So, and they're only half a game in front of the New York Knicks. So, like you mentioned, immediate revenge spot. They're still motivated to play hard here. I'm all over the Knicks here, minus 4.5 against the Chicago Bulls. Total is at 212.5 in this game. What are you thinking?
I mean, the last time they played, it was a rock fight, but I know that Brunson had a pretty bad shooting night. I think that was the game that Tibbs complained about the officiating right afterwards. So I think I'll lean over. Not really a strong opinion. I'm not going to bet the total, but I'll lean over.
Yeah, not much for me on the total. Yeah, I think with OG back, maybe a Bulls team total under is the way it look. But I really, really, really do like the Knicks here tonight, Scott, on the spread here. You have any player props you like?
No, I think Brunson bounces back, but I don't really have much else.
Yeah, not much for me here either in this game as far as player props. So we'll just keep it rolling here. Still a lot of games to get to here. We'll go over to the next game on the schedule. The Washington Wizards. They are in Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. Timberwolves currently laying 16.5 in this game with a total of 224. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Washington Wizards, let me find it here. So they are going to be without, you know what? I'm just going to make this simpler because they are entering that Miami Heat injury report category, and I'm just going to read off who they're starting in this game. Let's see here. All right. So the Washington Wizards are projected starting lineup is Jordan Poole, Corey Kispert, Denny Avdia, Kyle Kuzma, and I'm not even going to attempt to read the center's starting name for the Wizards. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, guys that are out are Jalen Clark and Carl Anthony Towns. And that is pretty much it. And if you saw the post-game interview from Anthony Edwards after that Lakers game, he pretty much hinted that Carl Anthony Towns could be nearing a return. And I think I did also see a note that said that he may be returning before the season is over. So maybe not tonight for Carl Anthony Towns, but maybe in the next game for the Minnesota Timberwolves that he's back. But at least for tonight, he is officially out. But 16.5 is a number here, Scott, for the Wolves against the Wizards.
It's really, really tough, but I think I got to take the points. It's just so much. Minnesota really has not been an amazing big favorite this season, and it seems like they kind of let teams hang around. Of course, I'm not picking Washington to win this game. Minnesota doesn't care if they win by margin or not. They're still trying to go for the 1 seed, and a win is a win. I'm going to lean to Washington, a classic game for them this season where they lose but keep it more competitive than people think. It's a massive spread. I'll take the dog.
Yeah, and then you take a look who they have on deck. They have the Denver Nuggets on deck. So those two teams will be pretty much battling for that number 1 spot in the Western Conference right now. As right now, if the season ended, Minnesota would have that tiebreaker because they're tied record wise. But again, both teams are going to play each other in the Denver Nuggets and Minnesota in the next game. So they probably just want to get in, get the win. Doesn't need to really be by margin at this point of the season. But I think this is a lot of points here for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I will be on Washington plus the 16.5. Total is sitting at 224. Anything on that one, Scott?
Not really. Maybe I'll lean under, but I really don't have much for the total.
All right. Any player props?
I mean, Gobert should have a monster rebounding game, but we've been here before. I don't know what else I really like. I don't mind Jordan Poole, actually, who's been pretty good recently. His assists have actually been kind of an underrated prop. So maybe Jordan Poole assists, but nothing that strong.
If Rudy Gobert doesn't have like 20 rebounds
He
tonight, I
really should.
swear to God. So the last two meetings, so I'll leave it off last four meetings: 19 rebounds, 7 rebounds, 19 and 16. So that number probably is at 14 and a half here for tonight, maybe 13 and a half if you shop around for Rudy Gobert. Yeah, it's at 13 and a half minus 130 on DraftKings, but he should have a big night on the boards here tonight for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anything else for this game?
No, not really. I think we covered it.
All right, next game on the schedule, we've got the San Antonio Spurs. They are in Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. Currently, as it stands, the Spurs are laying 4.5 points here in Minnesota. I'm sorry, in Memphis against the Grizzlies. Spurs laying 4.5 in Memphis against the Grizzlies. Total for the game is at 217. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the San Antonio Spurs, we know that Devin Vassell and Jeremy Sohan are both done for the season. Where is the Spurs injury report? Here we go. All right. So no Sohan, no Devin Vassell, no Keldon Johnson, no Chetty Osman. So it looks like it's going to be the Victor Wembanyama show here for the Spurs. And I'll just take a look at who's going to be starting for this team. So it'll be Trey Jones, Malachi Branham, Julian Champagny, your guy, Mamu. I'll let you say it. And then, yes, he is starting here for the Spurs at the power forward position, and also Victor Wembanyama. For the Memphis Grizzlies, I'll just read their starters as well: Scottie Pippen Jr., Jordan Goodwin, Gigi Jackson, Mike. I think it's Mike Pereira or Marcus Pereira, and then Trey Jameson is going to be the starters here projected for the Memphis Grizzlies. Guys that are out: Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson, Luke Kennard, John Conchar, John Moran, Watanabe, Vince Williams Jr., and Marcus Smart. So pretty much into the bench G League guys here from Memphis here tonight. Nonetheless, 4.5 is a number here, Scott.
I'm going to lean to Memphis in this spot. At the end of the day, I just think that laying this many points with San Antonio is a lost cause. They had this exact same matchup, I think it was a month ago, and I ended up leaning to the Grizzlies because I don't know why the Spurs are ever favored in games, and the Grizzlies won outright. So I have to stick with it. I just think at the end of the day, you're looking at a spot where the Spurs have played better recently. I'm aware of that, but I just really don't want to lay 4.5 with a team that I still think is one of the worst teams in the league. They're 40 games under 500. I just can't back San Antonio to win by multiple possessions. I'll lean to Memphis at home.
Yeah, I think that if they were catching points here, I would be on the Spurs here, but them as a road favorite, yeah, I can't get behind that. Just want to see how many times they've actually been favored on the road here, have the Spurs here. But yeah, not gonna want to do anything with this game. We could probably do the toilet bowl flush for this game, but
yep.
They have been favored once on the road by 3 points against the Pistons. They win that game 130-108. But not interested in the spread here for the Spurs. Anything on the total here, though, Scott? 216.5?
No, not really. I think I'll lean under, but I don't have a strong opinion on this.
Yeah, I'd lean over. I just don't see any type of defense being played in this game. Maybe you see some pace, but again, I think Wemby should really dominate in this game here. Player props, anything you're looking at?
I think Wemby blocks, obviously. Guy walks into 7 blocks a game at this point. Wemby's going to have a monster game. It is what it is. But the thing is, I don't trust anybody else on that Spurs roster. So I think Wemby rebounds is worth a look because Memphis is not really a good rebounding team. So I wouldn't mind that angle. But for the most part, no. I think it's just going to be a pretty forgettable game.
Wemby triple-double interest you?
What's that price at? I'm assuming everything's juiced at this point on Wemby.
It's 13-1 on
how many does he have this year?
Double.
Like 2?
Yeah. It's the
I'm
thing
not
that
taking
he's always
13
like
to 1.
Yeah, it's always because he's like flirting with it too, right? Like the Pelicans, he fell one assist short. There was a game against the Denver Nuggets, he fell 1 block short. So yeah, 13-1. I don't know. Maybe if you build one, you maybe get better odds, like a same game parlay. If you want to do that, there's a possibility there. But I mean, yeah, you're right about the blocks. If you want to go blocks and steals, if you want to do that, or if you want to do rebounds and assists, that might be worth a look here for Wemby as well. He's had 20 or more rebounds and assists combined for the last 5 games for the San Antonio Spurs. And shockingly, he's been playing a lot of minutes. That was in double overtime, 43 minutes. But other than that, he's been around 31 to 34 minutes for the Spurs. So expect the usage to be there for him for sure in this game. Anything else for this game?
No, not really.
All right, next game on the schedule, we've got the Sacramento Kings. They are in OKC here tonight to take on the Thunder. Thunder are currently laying 5.5 points in this game with a total of 227.5. Injury report for both of these teams. For the Sacramento Kings, let's see here. All right, so the usual guys are out: Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk. Keegan Murray is questionable for this game. For the OKC Thunder, no Gordon Hayward. Jalen Williams is officially questionable, and SGA is playing in this game for the OKC Thunder. Thunder right now are one game back of the number one seed. We'll see if they're able to make any noise there, but just seems like it's going to be a battle for Minnesota and Denver here. So I think they're pretty much cemented into that 3 spot here, Scott. But Sacramento, they are one game behind the Pelicans and the Suns, respectively, for the 6th and 7th spot. Half a game in front of the Lakers here. So a meaningful game, I think, more for the Kings here. They're catching 5.5 here, Scott. Any thoughts on that?
I think I'm going to lean Sacramento. I can't stand this team, and the Thunder are the better roster, but Shea's coming back, and I wonder how he's going to look. He hasn't played in like a week or so, so maybe he'll be rusty. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to lean Sacramento. I just think this game matters more for the Kings, and them getting 5.5 here I find a bit intriguing. They killed the Nets by 30 last game. Good for them. The Nets are a terrible basketball team, but still a win's a win. I'm going to lean Sacramento. I just think 5.5 is a lot to lay when I'm not sure what Shea we're actually going to be getting. If Shea is at full strength, then of course that's going to be an OKC play. But the point is we don't know. We don't know what Shea is going to show up for this game. So I'm going to lean Sacramento because I just think it's a lot of points.
Yeah. I think Shea is still, obviously, like you mentioned, they're going to be still dealing with that quad injury, right? And I think it probably takes multiple weeks to get that rested and healed. But I think, again, both teams are, especially the Kings, I think are the more desperate team here. And I know that they need this game more than I think the Thunder do. So I'm with you. I think this number has gotten away for the Thunder. If you wanted to be on the Thunder, I think it was at 3.5 last night. The SGA news probably pushed it up to 5.5, but Sacramento, I think, is a side here for me in this game here, catching the 5.5. I know we'll talk about player props here in a second, but totals at 227.5. Any thoughts on that?
I'm going to lean over just based on what the pace should be in this game. But once again, it's tough to fully tell when I don't know what Shea we're going to be getting. So I guess I'm going to have to wait it out.
Yeah, no thoughts on the total here for me. More so on the side here of the the Kings here. Player props, what are you looking at?
For player props, I think Sabonis on the board should have a monster game. So I don't mind Sabonis rebounds. Maybe a triple doubles in a line. We'll see. I think it's going to be a battle between Fox and between Shea. I don't know if Shea's healthy or not, but I think Fox is going to take the matchup personally. 2 Kentucky guys that, I think are going to go at it back and forth offensively. So I don't mind maybe Fox for points, but I really do like Sabonis rebounds. I've been critical of OKC's rebounding all year long, rightfully so. I feel like all of us have. So I'll lean to Sabonis rebounds in this game. I think he could have a monster game on the boards.
Yeah, I mean, he has just been killing the Thunder on the boards here. I'm not going to read all the numbers, but he's had 13 or more rebounds in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of the last 11 games, he's had 13 or more rebounds against the OKC Thunder. The triple doubles have been there. He's had 3 in the last 6 games. But it's the fact that I think I'm just going to play his assist and rebounds and assists to go over. That's at 23.5. I mean, he's been absolutely crushing it. If you want to just play the rebounds alone for Sabonis, that number I'm pretty sure is probably going to be at 13.5 or 14.5. Yeah, it's at 14.5 for Sabonis. I mean, rightfully so. But I'm going to be comfortable with rebounds and assists to go over for Sabonis here tonight of 23.5. Probably more one of my more favorite plays on the board when it comes to player props for tonight. Anything else for this game?
No, not really.
All right, next game on the schedule, we've got the Orlando Magic. They are in Houston to take on the Rockets. Magic laying 3 points against the Rockets here with a total of 215.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams for the Orlando Magic, Jonathan Isaac is questionable and Franz Wagner is also questionable. For the Rockets, the usual guys are out: Jayshawn Tate, Alperen Şengün, Tari Eason, and Steven Adams. Amen Thompson is available to play in this game. Kind of a dream crushing spot here for the Rockets. They've pretty much, they were competitive in that game. Yeah, they've been eliminated by that Warriors game. We saw what happened on Sunday, I believe, against the Dallas Mavericks in that game, and it just wasn't. They were out, like you mentioned. I think it was like 28-9 in the first quarter. They were close to a 20-point lead. Dante Exum hits that 3 at the end to send it into overtime, where if you watch the game, the Rockets were actually trying to foul, but it just wasn't called. They go on to lose the game. Dallas, in fact, covered in overtime, but nonetheless, this team has really just fallen off defensively, and the season is pretty much over as far as playoff hopes for this Rockets team. Where on the other side, we talked about with Orlando Magic, right now sitting in that 3 spot, tied with the New York Knicks as far as record-wise. So, again, they're only half a game in front of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are in the 5th spot right now as well. So 3 to 5 is going to be jumbling here. But as far as division implications go, at least for the Orlando Magic as well here, Scott. So -3 is a number right now for the Magic.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to lean to the Magic here. We talked about it before. I believe they can officially clinch the division if they win this game. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the math checks out.
Yep.
But the point is, I think I have to take the Magic because they're still playing for something. I don't know what the incentive is for Houston, who was trying to make a dream run at the end of the year to get into the play-in spot. They failed miserably. They imploded. They choked away a massive lead against Dallas in their last game on Sunday to get eliminated.
Okay, just dig the knife deeper, why don't you?
I'm just throwing everything out there. Like, I don't know why this team would suddenly rise up for this meaningless game. It's a meaningless game. Yeah. They blew every chance that they had. They probably weren't going to catch Golden State anyway because Golden State caught fire after their winning streak to cut it to within a game. But I got to lean Orlando. I know Orlando has not been great recently, but they have been, once again, a good basketball team for most of the season. They got a shot at the 3 seed, which is wild. But the point is they're still competing for seeding, and Houston's got nothing to play for. So I got to lean Orlando in this game. What do you think's more likely? Houston gives a good effort in a meaningless game, or Houston rolls over? My guess is B. So I'll lean to Orlando.
Yeah, they've rolled over. I mean, you just take a look at where their defensive numbers are over the last 5 games, and they're down there with the Toronto Raptors. They're down there with the Utah Jazz. They're down there with the OKC, the Cleveland Cavaliers. In fact, the Rockets are the worst defense over the last 5 games. So, obviously they're not going to be playing as hard defensively like they were during that winning streak. And I mean, if you go back and look, they weren't playing the toughest competition, that little 10-game win streak that they did have, right? And now when they started playing against opponents like the Dallas Mavericks, the Golden State Warriors, like, you could see a significant difference between those 2 teams, where they are. So I think Magic come in here, again, like you mentioned, they're still fighting for the division. They're still fighting for the playoff seeding, and the Rockets are not going to the postseason this year. So I found the scenario here for the Orlando match. So Orlando clinches a playoff spot with a win and with losses by any of the 2 following teams. So Miami, Philly.
That's a playoff spot, or that's the division?
No, a playoff spot.
Okay.
And then for the division, they win and Miami loses. That's simple for them.
Okay.
So they need to go out and win here tonight. That's pretty much what it is for the Orlando Magic, which is, again, I'm with you that I do like the Orlando side here. -3. 216 is the total. Anything on that?
I guess I'm going to lean over. We saw Charlotte kind of torch this Orlando defense, but it's mostly Houston's defense, which is cratered. I see a bit more of an open game because Houston is, I just think, at a point in the season where they're not going to buckle down defensively. I'll lean to the over.
Yeah, I'm imaging like a Magic team total over would be the way to go. I know they're not a very good 3-point shooting team. And when I'm looking at betting overs, I want a team that can shoot the 3 ball. But that hasn't been the case for this Orlando Magic team. So I think they can have a success inside. Again, keep an eye on that Franz Wagner injury news. If he is going to be playing this game or not, he's officially questionable right now. But all over the Magic in this game. You have any player props you like?
Not really. I hope
What's the
Dylan Brooks
update on the Dylan Brooks
I'm
tech?
still one tech short.
Oh boy.
Whole team keeps getting techs. I think Van Vliet got one the other night. I know Amon got ejected because he completely just tossed Kleber to the floor. And Udoka got a tech, but no, there's just a bunch of guys not named Brooks. I'm hoping that since they're officially eliminated, Brooks is just going to be allowed to lose his mind again because they're not actually, playing for anything. I remember Landell had the quote a couple weeks ago where he's like, yeah, Dylan Brooks can't afford to have this happen and he's too valuable to the team. They got nothing to play for, so maybe they'll let Dylan Brooks lose his mind again. Who knows?
So I think if it happens, it's maybe in that last game against the Clippers where he, I don't know, goes and shoves down James Harden or something.
It could be
like
this
that.
game, honestly. It wouldn't shock me if like Boncaro or maybe Jalen Suggs get in his face and something happens. But yeah, who knows? I'm hoping that since Houston's eliminated, maybe Brooks decides the last game of the season, like you said, I don't want to play, and he'll just get ejected in the first quarter. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But still hanging on, but it is pretty annoying.
Any player props in this game?
No. I think I'll lean to Boncaro for points. Besides that, not really. Jabari Smith rebounds maybe, but I don't really have much.
All right. Next game on the board, we'll go over to the Denver Nuggets. They are in Utah to take on the Jazz. Denver currently laying 15 on the road here against the Jazz, total of 225. Looking at the injury report for the Denver Nuggets, they are going to be questionable tag for Aaron Gordon and then probable tag, for KCP, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. So 4 of your 5 starters are probable, and Aaron Gordon is the only questionable tag for the Denver Nuggets. For the Utah Jazz, no John Collins, no Jordan Clarkson, no Walker Kessler, no Chris Dunn, and no Lauri Markkanen. Denver laying 15 here, Scott, like we mentioned with Minnesota. Could be possibly a look-ahead spot for the Denver Nuggets, but we did see the return of Jamal Murray, and this team just instantly looked like the championship team that they were last year, where they beat their opponent by, 20, 25 points in that game with Jamal Murray back, but they're in Utah here tonight, laying 15.
You mean the Hawks game? I thought they won by like 40.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When I saw the score, it was like 20-something, so they probably went on to win by 40-something.
I think they won by like 42, I think. Yeah, I'm going to take Denver. I've been taking a lot of big point dogs here, and I know Utah's at home and everything, but with Murray, this team is just a destroyer of worlds at this point. I think Utah's screwed. I don't really have anything to like about this team right now. I think George is okay, Sexton's okay, but you get the point. Denver with Murray in the lineup is the best team in the league. I don't think it's really close. People argue Boston based on record. I don't care. Denver's won both meetings this season. I think Denver's the better team. I'm going with Denver. I think they'll win this game by 30. They got a shot to get the 1 seed to win the division. I think they're going for it. So I'll pick Denver to kill this team.
Excuse me. I'll probably go Denver first half in this game. I think they just come out and take care of business. You have a big game coming up against Minnesota. Go out and win this game, and then just get ready for the game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So again, like you mentioned, that pretty much the good players for the Utah Jazz are sitting in this game. It could be something similar where we saw against Golden State that Golden State was covering for most of that game. Mind you, it was without Steph Curry, so it could have been a different result, but they did get that backdoor cover in that game where the Warriors were, I think, a 12.5, 13-point favorite on Sunday, cruising, final minute. They gave up a couple buckets, ended up covering the game to the Utah Jazz. So I'm just going to take the full game out of it. I'm on the first half here for the Denver Nuggets, just for them to come out and take care of business against the Utah Jazz. Totals at 225. Probably go with it.
I'm leaning over.
Yeah, over, or like a Denver team total over.
Yeah. Denver might score 130. Wouldn't shock me. So I'll lean over.
Player props, anything you're looking at?
I think Joker puts up a triple-double in about 3 quarters, so I think he's in a line for a good game. Trying to think if there's anybody on Utah I'm tempted by. I mean, maybe George or Sexton, or maybe you want to go for a case on like sensible points, but I mean, Yurtseven starting at center against Joker.
Good luck.
How does Joker not just absolutely kill this team? I think Joker triple-double's got to be the move.
Yeah, Keontae George is probably the move if you want to get on Utah. Player props, shot volume is going to be there for him. He scored He had 25 against the Warriors. Johnny Jusang,
He had a big game last time out.
33 minutes, 27 points. We'll see how he's done recently. He's
I don't
going to
think
get
he
the
really did
minutes.
much. I think that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he just kind of got hot from 3-point land. That was pretty much it. 7 of 8, 9 of 12 from the floor, 27 points. So, all right. Yeah, not much else for me as far as player props. I'm with you on the Nikola Jokic. Anything else for this game?
For reference, by the way, Joker triple doubles plus 175.
All right.
So
next game on the board here, probably the game of the night. We've got the Golden State Warriors. They are in LA to take on the Warriors. To take on the Lakers are the Warriors. Number is currently 2.5 in favor of the Lakers. Total of 235.5. Injury report. Let's start here with the Warriors. Gary Payton II is probable. Andrew Wiggins is probable. Dario Saric is going to be out for the Warriors. For the Lakers, obviously both AD and LeBron are questionable. Jared Vanderbilt, Christian Wood, Jalen Hood-Schifino are all out for this game. Looking at the standings here in that Western Conference play-in tournament bracket, the Lakers are a half a game behind the Sacramento Kings for the 8th spot, 1.5 out behind the Suns for the 6th spot. And we could just pretty much say the Warriors are cemented either as a 9th or 10th seed, unless something catastrophic happens to the Sacramento Kings. But it seems like the Warriors are going to be in that 9 or 10 spot at minimum. 2.5 is a number here, Scott. What are you thinking?
So it's actually a big game for Golden State because Golden State right now is a game and a half behind LA. They have a game in hand, though. But they're up 2-1 in the head-to-head. So if Golden State does win this game, the tiebreaker is actually going to matter. So I have to at least point that out. The tiebreaker might come into play, maybe. The Lakers' last couple games are interesting because they have a game against the Grizzlies where they should dominate. The last game's at New Orleans, which is definitely losable. Now, New Orleans has not been in good form. They were able to beat Phoenix a couple days ago, so maybe New Orleans got back on track, and that might be, once again, a big game for both teams because New Orleans is in danger of falling into the play-in. As for Golden State, they play Portland, they play at home against New Orleans, and they play at home against Utah. So the Warriors have a shot, actually, at maybe catching the Lakers. Now, the Lakers might pass the Kings, so it might not matter, but I have to at least point it out that the Warriors do have a shot, a realistic shot of actually catching the Lakers if AD does not play in this game and if the Lakers end up losing at home tonight against the Warriors. I want to mention that. This game might matter. It might determine home court for the 9-10 matchup. So I do not think AD is going to play. It's an eye injury. It seems like it's been bothering him for a while, and he re-aggravated it. So I don't think he's going to play in this game. Do you?
I don't think so. I think that Lakers know that, okay, they're going to be a play-in tournament team. Sacramento, I think, the interesting part is Sacramento has a very tough schedule down the stretch. Their final 4 games. They have the Thunder, they have the Suns, they have the Pelicans, and then their easy game is the Portland Trail Blazers.
That's still very tough, though.
It is tough, yeah. So I think, there's a possibility that AD could sit here tonight. There's also a possibility that the Golden State Warriors could win out their final 4 games and probably maybe get even into that 8th or 9th spot. With all that being said, I think I'm on the Warriors here tonight, getting the points at plus 2.5. It's also the fact that the defense has not been very good for this LA Lakers team, despite them being number 7 as far as defensive rating over the last 5 games. I mean, we saw what they gave up to the Minnesota Timberwolves in the last game on Sunday. I think they gave up 127 in that game to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And now you have a pretty much a healthy squad here in the Golden State Warriors here tonight. I think they come out here and take this game to the Warriors. So I'm on the Warriors here plus the 2.5. We're going to be on the money line here as well.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean to Golden State. I was initially going to take the Lakers, but that AD injury is really a concern for me because he's already had an eye issue this season. And the fact that he kind of re-aggravated it tells me that it's definitely bothering him. And Golden State has been really, really good recently. So, once again, big game. I think this game matters more for Golden State than it does for the Lakers. Because at least based on... Actually, I got to think about that for a second. I mean, you can argue it actually matters more for the Lakers because they can pass the Kings in theory so they can potentially avoid playing 2 play-in games instead of
Mhm.
1. So
Yeah.
maybe you could argue it matters more for the Lakers, but we've seen them kind of coast with the injury report and coast with resting players down the stretch because they're older. I'm going to lean Warriors. I just think AD's eye injury is a big deal, and I think it's not being talked about enough. So I'll lean to Golden State.
I want to see who the Pelicans have left on their schedule.
Well, the schedule's impossible because they have the Kings, they have the Lakers, they have the Warriors. Their schedule is even harder than Sacramento's.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's an opportunity where we could probably see the Pelicans end up as the ninth or 10th seed. Um, it's just going to be interesting to watch here because, again, after tonight, the Lakers have the Pelicans and the Grizzlies left. So yeah, I mean, to say all that to be on the Warriors here tonight, plus the 2.5. Any thoughts on the total 235.5?
I don't really know because on one hand, AD you want there for defensive purposes, but on the other hand, offensively, Golden State has no answers for him at all. So it's pretty tricky playoff type atmosphere, maybe. So I guess I'm leaning under, maybe a surprising under. I think most people like the over in this game. I'm going to lean under. Not a strong opinion though, but I'm just going to lean that way. You?
I would probably look at a Warriors team total over in this game. Again, I just don't trust this Lakers defense right now. And like I mentioned, right, that top 7 right now that they are in defensive efficiency. You just take a look at who they played, and it was the Wizards. Wizards put up 120. It was the
Mhm.
Raptors. It was the Cleveland Cavaliers. So not the greatest offensive teams. But now you have a Warriors team that's healthy, number one, and I think that they can put up the points in this game here. So Warriors team total over for me would probably be the look in this game. Player props, anything you're looking at?
For player props, if AD's out, give me LeBron. I probably like LeBron anyway, but he's gonna have the ball in his hands all the time, and they can't even dump it down low for AD for some free baskets. So I maybe wouldn't mind LeBron rebounds if AD's out, maybe a triple doubles in store. But I see LeBron having a big game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the other superstar on the other side, Steph Curry. His number was at 26.5 last night. I did play the over on that. The VIG has moved a little bit at minus 130, but 3 meetings this season against the Lakers, 46, 32, and 31. So he scored at least 30 points against the Lakers this season. He's at 26.5 right now. Did have the night off against that game against the Utah Jazz, so he hasn't played since Friday. So some extra days off for Steph Curry. So I think he should come out and play some good basketball here tonight against this Lakers team. And again, D'Angelo Russell is probably going to end up trying to guard you at that point. And so good luck to D'Lo here tonight. But yeah, I really do like Steph in this spot here at over 26.5. Any other player props?
No, I thought about maybe D'Lo threes if LeBron's gonna end up playing. But that's basically it.
All right, next game on the schedule. 2 games left here. We've got the Clippers. They are in Phoenix here tonight to take on the Suns. Suns are currently laying 7 points in this game against the Clippers. Total is sitting at 226. Injury report for both of these teams. No Kawhi Leonard here tonight for the Clippers. No Josh Primo, and Daniel Tice is questionable. The Phoenix Suns, pretty clean injury report. Yusuf Nurkic is questionable with the right ankle sprain. 2 teams we can say that are going in opposite directions here, Scott. I know the Clippers were fortunate to come back with an absurd fourth quarter from Paul George to get that victory against the Cavs in a game that they should have ended up losing. But Phoenix right now, they are coming off a loss. They are in that 6th spot right now. Clippers pretty much look like they're cemented into that 4th spot in the Western Conference. But if Phoenix wants to avoid being in the play-in tournament bracket, they need to win this game right now. But 7 is a number here, Scott.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean Clippers in this game. I know the game matters more to Phoenix, and I get that Kawhi is still out, but I really don't want to lay points with Phoenix ever, especially by multiple possessions. Phoenix, I think we'd agree. I can't even call them a psycho team. I just don't think they're very good. I know that they're 14 games over 500, but in the grand scheme of things in the Western Conference, they are not a very good basketball team. And you're looking at the recent performances. They beat Minnesota, good win there. Beat Cleveland, which is a good win by the margin, but they have not been very good. New Orleans was slumping, but a good win there. But they played New Orleans at home last game and they lost by 8. Clippers, though, have won 3 straight. Beat Denver without Kawhi, beat Utah, beat Cleveland. Came back from 20-plus down in that game to beat Cleveland. I'm going to lean Clippers here. Even though Kawhi's been out, they've actually been decent, and 7.5 is a lot of points to lay with this Phoenix team. So I'm going to go with the Clippers to get it done, or at least to keep this game competitive. 7.5 is massive. I don't care who's out. That's a crazy line.
Yeah, Clippers have won both meetings this season, 131, 122, and 138 to 111. So defensively, the the Suns have not been very good against the Clippers. Do need to see if all their guys played in those games. But yeah, I think that Phoenix does get the win here tonight, but I don't think it'll be by margin in this game. I could probably see like a 4 to 5 point victory where the Clippers do in fact cover this number here. So yeah, Clippers plus the 7. Total is at 226. Any thoughts on that?
I'm going to lean over just based on the head-to-head meetings. Then again, Kawhi did play in those, so I don't know if that actually is going to impact anything in the head-to-head. But I got to think about this for a second because the Suns defensively have not been as bad recently, and Clippers recently defensively been okay. I'm kind of on the fence for the total. I'm going to lean over, but not exactly a strong opinion one way or another.
Yeah, I didn't have much on the total for this game. Lean under, but yeah, nothing that was really backing up either side here for me. Player props, what are you looking at?
I think I like Westbrook actually off the bench with this team, or whatever his current role is with Kawhi being out. But I've been roasting the Suns bench all season. And I think that Westbrook can give this team problems. We saw it in the playoff series last year. After Kawhi got injured, Westbrook was a problem against this Suns team. I think Westbrook props might be kind of a sneaky option in this game. So I think Paul George is worth a look. But I think that a lot of people might be sleeping on Russ in this game. I think he might do well off the bench.
I was looking at Nurk's rebounds in this game, but he's questionable here tonight. This Clippers are really giving it up to the center position as far as rebounds go. So I'm going to keep my eye on that here for tonight on Nurk rebounds. Other than that, I mean, maybe Harden assists. Paul George has to really step up like he did. Maybe he could carry that momentum into this game coming out that fourth quarter against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who just haven't been very good defensively. But yeah, not much as far as player props. Maybe James Harden assist, like I mentioned, but other than that, don't love it. Let me correct myself. I would look at a Harden points in this game with Kawhi Leonard being out because, again, he did have 22 in that game without Kawhi Leonard. He usually steps up when one of those two guys are out, whether it's Paul George being out or whether it's Kawhi Leonard being out. Harden really does as far as, trying to provide that scoring power. So he's at 17.5 right now. I don't hate that for James Harden. And then I'm going to wait for the Nurkic rebounds or his status if he does end up playing in this game to get on his rebounds here tonight. That number is currently at 11.5 at even money. Yeah, that's pretty much it. My guy Chris checking in here. He said he likes Phoenix in the first half, -3, -4. Bounce back spot for them here coming off of the loss. Phoenix is a +6 in the first half after taking a loss. Since the All-Star break, meanwhile, Clippers 1-3 straight up ATS as away dogs since the All-Star break and only averaging 98 points per game in that span without Kawhi and a fatigue for Paul George after playing 44 minutes on Sunday. Yeah, that's a good point about Paul George and the number of minutes that he did play here on Sunday. Anything else for this game, Scott?
No, not really. Should be a fun game.
Last game on the schedule, we've got the New Orleans Pelicans. They are in Portland here tonight to take on the Blazers. Pelicans laying 13.5. Total is sitting at 213. Injury report for the Pelicans. No Brandon Ingram. Najee Marshall is doubtful. For the Portland Trailblazers, no Malcolm Brogdon. Jeremy Grant is doubtful. No Shaden Sharp. No Anthony Simons. No Matisse Thybulle. And no Robert Williams III. So usual suspects out for the Blazers. Pelicans laying 13.5 here. Scott, what are your thoughts on that?
So the Pelicans were in terrible form in games they kind of needed to win, and then they beat Phoenix, which was a good win on the road. But they're still in danger of falling to the play-in. We mentioned their last 3 games of the season. They're very difficult, so we'll see what happens moving forward. But Portland lost to Miami by, what was it, 60? 50?
Mm-hmm.
They lost by 60 to
60.
Miami. Then they've been competitive. They lost to Orlando by 1. They beat Charlotte. They beat Washington, 2 really bad teams, and they played Boston, and I believe they covered. I think that they were getting 17.5, and they lost by 17. I don't know if I can trust New Orleans enough. I'm going to lean Portland. It's mostly just based on recent form for New Orleans. They've been a psycho team, and they could easily beat Portland by like 30. I'm aware of that. But I do think looking at this overall spot, based on current form, I think Portland is in that Wizards feisty role where they can lose but keep the game respectable. I'll lean to the Blazers because I really don't trust New Orleans enough to lay 13.5 points.
Yeah, I can't get behind the Pelicans at this number of 13.5. And again, when we talk about these teams that they just need to get the victory, they don't really need the margin. And I think this could be another game where we could see a backdoor cover for by the Blazers. So 13.5, I think, is a little outrageous for this Pelicans team here. So I'll take the 13.5 here with the Blazers. And again, it's these teams that have these big spreads. You probably just want to look at the first half and get in and get out with your money. That they just come out motivated, thinking they take care of business in the first half, and then we've seen it again. I've talked about this multiple times that the Pelicans, great first half team, but then they'll let their opponents hang around in that second half. So I could see a world where Pelicans come out and play well in the first half, cover the first half number, and the Blazers, that final 5 minutes of that fourth quarter could possibly come in and backdoor this thing. So Pelicans first half for me would be the look. Totals at 213. Scott, you have anything on that?
I have a hard time taking unders with the Trailblazers being involved, so I guess I'm going to lean over, but no, it's nothing really that substantial. I just think the second meeting ended up landing 233. I see this game being a little bit more high scoring. I'll lean to the over. Nothing that strong, but I think there'll be some points.
Chris brings up the great point that the Blazers are coming off of a 7-game road trip here. Now, I've always mentioned that that first game back is always a very, very tough one. Coming off of those long road trips, because again, you just want to take care of things at home or whatever the case might be. But yeah, and again, that could be a tricky spot. So maybe they just come out a little bit flatter, or they could get blown out. So, yeah, that's a good point. He's talking about the team total under for the Blazers at 99.5. I think that's definitely a possibility in this game here for the Pelicans. For the Trailblazers in this game, because again, they have a gauntlet to finish the season. They have the Pelicans, the Warriors, the Rockets, and then the Kings do the Trailblazers. So could be definitely a flat spot here for the Blazers. Anything else for this game, Scott? Any player props?
No, I think we covered it.
All right. So that is the last game of the night 15-game schedule here. Let's get into our lock and dog, and then we will give out our underdog fantasy entry for tonight. You want to lead us off?
Sure. Okay, so for the lock on the show, I think I'm going to go back. Do I want to go with the Knicks, or do I want to go with something else? I think I am going to go with the Knicks in this one. I just think that it's a pretty interesting line movement considering the fact that Chicago just beat this team last week and it's gone up a couple points. Kobe White's, I'd say, probable for this game. So I think he's going to play, but DeSunwu might not play, Caruso might not play, and the Knicks, once again, are fully healthy, which is a nice change in pace, with the exception of Julius Randle, obviously. I'm going to go with the Knicks here, though. With Anunoby playing, I do, of course, love this defense. I think he can give DeMar DeRozan some problems, and I do think that the Bulls don't really have many high-quality offensive options. So give me the Knicks. Just looking at the best line available, do I see a 4? No, I do see a 4. I see a 4 at -114, so I'll take that as my lock. For my dog, I thought about going with a Joker triple-double at 175, but his numbers against Utah historically are not that great. Then again, that's mostly with Kessler and people playing, and they got Yurtseven and no other centers, so I think Joker probably does put up a triple-double tonight, but I think I'm going to go elsewhere for my actual dog. I'm really tempted by Kyrie in this matchup. 30-plus points is 2-1, which I find very intriguing. Charlotte defensively recently has not been great. He had 48 points against the Rockets last game. And I think that Luka might be a little bit compromised, at least based on his health, from what I've seen over the last, I'd say the last game against Houston. He just seemed like he was struggling physically down the stretch. And that's why Kyrie had the ball in his hands a lot down the stretch. So I'm going to go with Kyrie 30-plus points at 2-1 as my dog.
All right. All right. For my lock, with you on the Knicks, I like the Knicks here tonight, but I'm going to go Denver in the first half. The number's at -9 right now. I just think they just come out here and take care of business with, pretty much their entire team fully healthy, right? They got Jamal Murray back. Only questionable tag is Aaron Gordon here tonight. And you have a lot of guys sitting here for the Utah Jazz. And like you mentioned, Jokic should absolutely dominate in this game inside the paint here for the Denver Nuggets. So I will take the Denver Nuggets first half -9. For my dog, I really do like the Warriors here tonight, and I want to see if I want to back like a Steph Curry points prop or like a same game parlay of Curry over his points and the money line for the Golden State Warriors. Let me see where his points prop is at. Steph Curry. So 30 plus is at plus 135. So if you want to pair that with the money line for the Golden State Warriors, I don't hate that. That would probably come out to the range of what plus. I think it'll be north of 4-1 for sure. So I'm gonna play those both as my dog, and then tie that as same game parlay as well. So Steph Curry, 30 plus points. That's at plus 135, and then the Warriors money line, which is at plus 124. Or if you want to do an alt spread, so however way you want to chop it up. But I'm all over the Warriors. Just but the official pick for the pod, I will give out Steph Curry 30 plus points in the Warriors money line. That'll be close to around plus 430, plus 440 here tonight against the LA Lakers.
Question: the 430, 440 that you have confirmation that's what the price is? Because I can pull it up if I can pull it up if you want me.
Yeah, because I think it's north of 4-1, but I just want to make sure I don't want to give out false lines here to our listeners. So if you could pull that up.
Conceptually, I'm assuming it'd be less because they're pretty heavily correlated. That's why I'm kind of wondering. Let me just see what it is. Steph 30. Let me just check. I was curious if they had it already pre-made with the like player performance doubles or whatever, but they do not. So I'm gonna have to build it myself. But I mean, Warriors money line is like plus 125, give or take. You throw in Steph, I see 3-1. So
3-1. Okay, all right.
It's heavily correlated, so I didn't think it would be 4-1. 4-1 is more of a true price.
All right, so we'll call it officially 3-1 on that. Plus 300 for Curry, 30 plus points, and Warriors money line to get it done tonight against the LA Lakers. All right, Scott, let's do our Underdog Fantasy Entry here for tonight before we get out of here. Do we want to go Jokic triple-double?
I'm curious how spicy it is.
Yeah, let's see here. Let me pull it up. Again, as I pull that up, underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code NBA SGPN. You'll get a first deposit bonus of up to $100. And if you already have an account, get your coworkers, family, friends, anybody that is the age of 18 or older, and also in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Let me do this on my phone because it goes a lot faster. Here. All right, so let's see with Nikola Jokic, NBA.
Market wide was kind of between 1.5 and 1.75. So if it's anywhere around there, probably.
Nikola Jokic. All right, here we go. Triple double. They don't even have it listed.
Boo.
Yeah, boo them.
Do they have assists or anything?
I mean, they pretty much have everything else. PRA, they have assists at 9. They have rebounds at 13. Rebounds and assists at 21.5.
You want to do that one?
Rebounds and assists?
I mean, he could easily walk into a bunch of rebounds, or he could just have 10 assists, and that's fine. So
okay. All right, so we'll start there. Nikola Jokic. Rebounds and assists higher, 21.5. You want to go Curry higher, 26.5 points?
Sure.
All right, we'll do that. And then we need one more for the
You
entry
want
here.
you want Kyrie?
Yeah, it
25 and
was
a
either
half.
going to be Kyrie or Wimby. But yeah, we could go Kyrie. Where is Kyrie? They're the first
For the
game
record,
tonight.
Kyrie has gone over 25 and a half points in 4 straight. He's gone over in 7 of the last 10. Yeah, I think Kyrie's in line for a big game.
They don't have his points listed alone.
Okay, they're really hating on us today. Okay, so what do you want for Wemby? You want blocks? What do you want?
Let me just double check before I go past Kyrie. Points, and points and rebounds, points and assists. Yeah, okay, they don't have it. All right. So let's pivot to Wemby. View by game. Wemby, where are you? Here we go. So 26.5 points. His PRA is at 44.5. Rebounds are at 12. Blocks are at 4. Steals and blocks combined. Nah, I don't want to do that. We go higher 4 blocks. I think that might be the move.
It might be. I mean, it's an insanely high number, but Memphis does give up a bunch of blocks per game. So I'm not totally against it, but it's. I mean, 4. You need 5 to win, 4 to push. I guess. I mean, Wemby's averaging like over the last month. He's been averaging like over 4 blocks a game. So I really can't argue it.
Yeah.
Do you prefer that over? I'm trying to think. Like Siakam rebounds. Do you prefer that over? Maybe a Bam prop or a Bam line. Trying to think of what else there even is.
Siakam rebounds are 8.5.
Should be at like 8.5. You have a
You want-
preference? You prefer 8.5? Do you prefer Wemby?
I think I think we go.
We can do Wemby if you want it. I'm just
I think we do
throwing out the
Siakam. I like the matchup because again, Toronto doesn't really have the big man to slow him down. So let's do Siakam higher 8.5 rebounds.
Sure.
So we'll go with that. All right. So we got Pascal Siakam higher 8.5 rebounds tonight against the Raptors. We got Nikola Jokic higher 21.5 rebounds and assists against the Jazz, and then we got Steph Curry higher 26.5 points tonight against the Lakers. That $10 entry will get you a $60 payout courtesy of UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code NBASGPN. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. 90 plus minutes in the books, 15 game schedule here tonight in the association. A lot of it's going to be a lot of fun, man. We have a handful of games left here for the final week of the regular season before we find out the official playoff seedings. But Scott, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, a lot of games. So don't be afraid to potentially pass on anything and trying to find better angles because there's an angle on basically every game, probably multiple angles on games, and there are about 15 games. So once again, don't be afraid to be a bit selective tonight. You have a lot of options.
Yeah. And again, there's still obviously with games Wednesday, Thursday, I think Saturday, there's no games within the final day of the regular season on Sunday. Every game, every team is in action early in the day as well. So be selective, be smart, manage your bankroll. Don't go crazy just because the NBA is back. But again, be very, very selective here. Again, you want to build that bankroll going into the playoffs where we're really gonna
not even just
turn
NBA,
it up
by
and
the
make
way.
money.
So we got baseball in the afternoon. We got soccer, Champions League soccer today. Hockey has a pretty full card. You got a lot of sports on tonight.
Yeah, a lot of going on here tonight. So we'll leave it at that. Make sure you follow Scott at Reichel Radio on Twitter. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. You can follow the NBA Gambling Podcast, the Twitter account as well at SGPN And more importantly, make sure you guys subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. I know we just hit 2,300 and on the march to 2,500 and hopefully to 3,000 subscribers for the NBA Gambling Podcast. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with Scott and Terrell. Same place, same time. We'll talk to you guys then. Till then, good luck with your bets here tonight. Let's break these books off and let it ride.